Good morning, everybody. Good morning. So, do I have your permission to switch gears a little bit? Yes? Okay. So, this is my first time at Life Visions, and for the past 2 days that I've been here, I am feeling a lot of spiz for chiropractic. Who here is just grateful to be either a student or in practice? Raise your hand. And for you students, you can't wait to get to practice Monday morning in your clinics or screw school and just go right to practice, right? All right, so I'm going to switch gears a little bit because here's been my experience. I've coached hundreds and hundreds of chiropractors now for the last almost 15 years. I'm still in practice because I love it. We have a very high volume subluxation-based wellness practice, so I have associates that help me now. But what I wanted to do years ago was I wanted to help other chiropractors succeed. Because a lot of chiropractors were coming out of seminars like this, all spizzed up, ready to go back into their practices Monday morning and struggle with their lives personally, continue to struggle in their practices. Why was that happening? You just came from a seminar like this. You're so proud to be a chiropractor. And I started to realize that it had to do with what was in here and what was in here, and a disconnect in your belief in yourself, your self-esteem, your inability to feel good about yourself and confident about who you are as a person. So as I started to coach chiropractors, I was successful because I sat in seminars, I just did what I was told to do. And then all of a sudden, when I started to coach other chiropractors, I just said, do what I did. That's how you become successful. And it doesn't work that way because everybody's got their own stuff. So I decided I want to really help you guys, and this is about you today, on a much deeper level and find out why people had these fears and stucks that they couldn't break through. So I went back and became a certified life coach so I could help understand where you're coming from on a much deeper level and break through all of it. And here's what I know to be true. There are 4 pillars in chiropractic to be successful. Number 1 is headspace, personal growth. Number 2, chiropractic philosophy. Have you gotten enough philosophy over these last 2 days if you've been here? Right? I think you understand the importance of getting out there and sharing your story and telling the story of chiropractic so people understand who you are and what you do. But that's only a part of it. Number 3, you've got to understand the systems and procedures to build the practice of your dreams. And number 4, there's marketing. And anything else to be successful in chiropractic comes under one of those 4 pillars. So in these next 15 minutes, I would like to talk about personal growth and utilizing what I like to call the Big 7 to help you break through once and for all to not only create just a wonderful practice the way you want it, but also the life and lifestyle of your dreams. Would you like that? Yes? Yes or yes? All right, so number 1, and you've heard this before, is about creating a compelling vision, both for yourself and for what your practice is or will be. And 2 questions have to be answered in order to create your vision. Who or what do you want to be? Who or what do you want to be, and what do you want to do? And when I work with clients, I take them on for the first time, I meet them where they are, and I ask these 2 questions, and I hold them accountable. Every week I have them doing exercises and self-exploration and finding out who you really are on the inside. And there's one concept I like to use, and that's called becoming authentic. Taking off your mask, because all of you have a mask on, because that's what you want people to see you. And I say it's time to take the mask off, become authentic, so that you show the world who you really are, and all the vulnerabilities come with it. And when you're willing to take the mask off, guess what happens? Life happens. That's when you start to grow as a human being, and you know what happens to your practice? Your practice follows you. Become authentic. Why is this vision so important? Why is it so important? Number 1, it breathes vitality back into your life. Number 2, you become a beacon of light for people and the world. Number 3, it gives you, your team, your patients, your practice members, a direction. And I find it very interesting. You know what happens? You become it. It doesn't matter where you practice. You can practice in the remote parts of the world. When you're it, they will find you. And having this compelling vision creates the it factor for you. And you know what else happens? You start to get juiced and jazzed. And all of a sudden, you start to take actions that change the world. And that's what we're here for. That's why you're in school. It's not just to make a living and just build a practice. It's to change the world. But first, you have to change you. Number 2, high standards. Number 2, high standards. Raise your standards. What are standards? The standards are your behaviors and actions that you hold yourself accountable to. And one of the things that I have people do, here's a great exercise. I'm going to give you some be stuff, and we're going to give you some do stuff. Here's a great exercise. I want you to list out, not right now, but list out 10 people that you admire. And I want you to observe their behaviors and their qualities. And most importantly, observe how they handle tough situations and tough people. And then you learn from that, and you say to yourself, what standards could I raise? How could I be more like them, but also continuing to be me? And you know what happens? When you put people and relationships first, before the outcomes, right, things start to explode and expand. So raise your standards. Number 3, eliminate tolerations. This is the one sticking point that I see most people have, including students right now. You are tolerating certain things in your life. And I say enough is enough. I have chiropractors call me all the time, whining, complaining. Their lives are falling apart. Their relationships are falling apart. And I find out what they're tolerating in their personal lives, from the clutter, the carpets not being cleaned, their house not the way they want it, their relationships not the way they want it. Then I find out the tolerations in their practices, right? You know the number one toleration in chiropractic today? Your team, your staff, your CAs. Tolerating having the wrong CAs in your practice and not taking responsibility for it. And I am telling you now, if you look around your life right now, the way your life is because you created it. And some of you want to stick your head in the sand and not take ownership and responsibility. But when you start to take responsibility for your life right now, right here and right now, everything will change for you when you're willing to take the mask off and say, okay, where am I, where do I want to go, and how do I need to close that gap? So here's another great exercise for you. You're going to create 2 lists. Everything I'm tolerating in my life personally, and everything in my life I'm tolerating professionally, even as a student. And if you've taken anybody here in the capstone program, the 4th quarter, some of you are going to be there, and we've done this exercise. And then with my clients every week, we actually set goals, and we set a time frame to check off every one of those tolerations. And anybody here of the law of attraction? The whole law of attraction is about decluttering your life. And when you take responsibility and declutter your life, magic will begin. But you know what you have to do? You got to get over it. You got to stop the moaning and the whining, right? And just take responsibility. And like Eric Plasker just beautifully did, he read a poem. I got a poem too. I got a poem. I didn't write it. It's really a song. Anybody hear the song Get Over It by the Eagles? Oh yeah. All right, so here's what we're going to do. When I point to you, you're going to sing Get Over It. All right? Because that's what we're going to do right now. You're going to get over all the whining and bitching and take responsibility. Here we go. I can't really sing, but I'll rap it. I turn on the tube, and what do I see? A whole lot of people crying, don't blame me. They point their little crooked fingers at everybody else, spend all their time feeling sorry for themselves, a victim of this, a victim of that. Your mom is too thin and your daddy's too fat. Get over it. Get over it. All this whining and crying and pitching a fit. Get over it. Get over it. You say you haven't been the same since you had your little crash, but you might feel better if they gave you some cash. The more I think about it, oh, Billy was right. Let's kill all the lawyers, kill them tonight. You don't want to work, you want to live like a king, but the big bad world doesn't owe you a thing. Get over it. Get over it. If you don't want to play, then you might as well split. It's like going to confession every time I hear you speak. You're making the most of your losing streak. Some call it sick, but I call it weak. You drag it around like a ball in a chain. You wallow in the guilt, you wallow in the pain. You wave it like a flag, you wear it like a crown. Get your mind in the gutter, bringing everybody down. Complain about the present and blame it on the past. I'd like to find your inner child and kick his little ass. Get over it. Get over it. All this bitching and moaning and pitching a fit. It's got to stop sometimes, so why don't you quit? And if you do that, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. Big things are going to happen. Oh, yeah. All right, so those eliminate the tolerations. Let's talk about boundaries. Another key element to your personal growth to create exactly what you want. Creating or extending boundaries. Let's do this. Women, Who here, let's poll the audience, who here has a great relationship with their mother, or who here knows you've got to create some boundaries with your mother? Raise your hand. Yeah, all of you, right? This is my one observation that I started to see. And I started to notice, boy, the relationship between mothers and daughters is an interesting one. And there's no boundaries there. So how about creating a boundary with your team, creating a boundary with your patients, creating a boundary with family members? Vitally, vitally important. And I'd like to introduce one of our coaches at the Marks and Connection who also runs the Impact program at Life University. Stand up, Dr. Dawn Cadwallader. I want to recognize Dawn because she started as a member of ours, and she worked this whole personal growth thing, and she was successful in practice, let me tell you. And all of a sudden, but she had a lot of personal stuff going on, and if I took a poll and said how many here have personal stuff going on in their life, every one of you would raise your hand, including me. But these are the tools and resources to help you break through. She has worked so hard on herself, and she was one of the very few to take the mask off and said, okay, I'm not perfect, I got some stuff I got to work on, let's get to work. And those of you who are willing to work on yourself like Dawn, and the breakthroughs that she's had, and what led her now to Life University, and how her whole life is completely different because she was willing to do that, a round of applause. And her daughter Sophie's with her, who's going to be starting chiropractic school here at Life. Congratulations. Another one of our members behind you, Dr. Curtis Dunlop. Curtis, just raise your hand. Another guy willing to work on himself, right? And a big fan of Life University. So what are these boundaries? These are imaginary lines that you draw around yourself to create this area that you know you need so you can fully express yourself. That's what a boundary is. And so it stops people, and yourself, by the way, from doing things to you, around you, saying things to you. So here's another great exercise to do. I want you to list 10 boundaries that you know you need to create in your life. And here's what you're going to do. You're going to sit down with those people in your life that you know you need to create a boundary with, and you're going to let them know what's no longer acceptable, how they treat you, how they act towards you, what they say to you. And you know what happens is, when you sit down with these people, they will respect you a whole lot more. We call it a form of agreement. And if your patients knew what this too, and you told them what was acceptable and not acceptable, your patients would do what they asked you to do. How about communicating with your team? Every single one-on-one, meet with your teammates, and this is what begins to happen. It will change your life, so create the boundaries. Is that fair? Okay, and the last three, restoring your integrity, getting your needs met, and getting your wants met. So restoring your integrity. Restoring your integrity. What is integrity? It's how your actions align with your core values so you can now represent your purpose in life. So where in your life are you out of integrity? Again, another great exercise I have every one of my members do. Make a list of everywhere in your life that you're out of integrity, and then one by one, we're going to help you through a coaching process to restore that integrity. And here's another one. Let's talk about needs. Well, we all have physical needs, right? We need water, we need air, we need shelter, we need food, but we also have personal needs as well that have to be met. Here's what happens. You're in a relationship. I do a lot of relationship work with couples. They don't know, your significant other doesn't necessarily know what's most important to you. They don't know what your needs are, but you expect them to, and then you guys are not communicating, you start to butt heads. This is where divorce comes from, because you've lost the ability to communicate with one another. So the first thing I have someone do is write down all your needs and wants from your significant other that you would need to have a great relationship. Don't tell them what they are yet. Then have your significant other do the exact same thing. Have them list out all their needs and wants, and then you're going to sit down one night, make it a Saturday night, a glass of wine, and one will go, then the other, and while the other is sharing, you can't say a word, but listen and take some notes. And you know what's going to happen is, they're going to say to you, wow, I didn't know you needed that. Wow, I didn't know that was that important to you. Because they can't read your mind. And that's the beginning of creating great relationships. It could be significant other, could be your team, could be your patients, it doesn't matter. And wants, basically, are just simply wishes and desires that you want, but you're okay if you don't get them. So the key is to simplify your life. The key is, when you restore your integrity first, get your needs met second, guess what happens to your wants? They proportionately decrease. And the less wants you have, and the simpler your life, the more joy you have, the more fulfilled you are, the more authentic you become. In order to create this personal growth, every single day you have to develop what we call behaviors of excellence. Every morning, an hour of power or a morning routine. Reading your goals, saying affirmations, doing a visualization with emotion and feeling, the vision board they spoke about yesterday, whatever it is. If you do something every single day to work on yourself and couple that with the lasting purpose, the philosophy, your systems, your procedures, your marketing, and all of that, when you work on yourself and become the person you know you need to become because your practice is waiting for its leader to show up, everything else will follow. And you'll start to create exactly what you want. Winston Churchill once said that success is not final. Failure is not fatal. But rather, it's the courage to continue that counts. Robert Louis Stevenson once said, "To be who we are and to become what we are capable of becoming is the only end in life." So, if you're willing to do whatever it takes, travel whatever distance, pay whatever price, and overcome any obstacle, you can and will become a chiropractic champion, build a practice of your dreams, and the best lifestyle you can imagine. Thank you very much.